Good morning. This is Pastor Ernie Lewis of the Blue Point Church in Sisney, Illinois, with your thoughts for Monday. Today I want us to go to the book of Acts and realize what was going on there. It may look a little bit like what's going on in our world today. You know, there are many people today who are being reprimanded because of things that they have said, or perhaps some actions that they have taken and others don't like what they're doing. Perhaps even for some thoughts that they may have carried when everybody seems to judge us. So what are we doing for Christ today that others seem to notice? In Acts chapter 4, these disciples were called before the council. And the council said to them, so they commanded them not to speak or to teach in the name of Jesus. But Peter and John answered them and said, well, whether it's right in the sight of God to listen to you more than to God, you'll have to judge. For we cannot but speak the things which we have seen and heard. You see, the first thing that happened here that brought all this about was when they healed a man in John chapter 3. A man that had been lame since birth. But by the power of Christ, he received power in his legs, and he ran around telling everybody, and so it's created a stir here. So we have to ask ourselves, what am I doing as a Christian that makes a difference that others notice Christ not only in me, but perhaps in my community? You see, the reason they were reprimanded in the first place here was because they were proclaiming the name of Christ. They were telling others about Jesus, and you realize telling others about Jesus sometimes will offend people. By the way, it may also change someone's eternal destiny if you tell them about Jesus. So we have to be careful that we are proclaiming what is so important here. The council said to them, you cannot speak or you cannot teach in the name of Jesus anymore. That could be what our nation is coming to, by the way. That could be some of the reprimands that churches get or even ministers get. We heard word this week that one minister could not meet in a school anymore because some people didn't like some of the thoughts or some of the actions that he had taken in his community. To be reprimanded for preaching Christ. They said, we cannot but speak these things. They were proclaiming what Christ had done because they had experienced what Christ had done in their lives. They had experienced what Christ did at Pentecost whenever he brought 3,000 souls to the church through their preaching and proclaiming. They saw what Christ had done to this man in changing his life. They saw what Christ did when he died on a cross for the sins of all men. And they saw Christ after that when he had risen from the dead. They said, listen, we have to tell everybody about this. So the question for us today is, what am I doing? Who am I telling? Is there anything that should stop us today from proclaiming Jesus Christ and his power to save to a world who desperately needs him?